There's a simple rule in nature. The more dangerous a place is, the fewer creatures want to live there. But one predator, as if to defy this rule, chose the most inhospitable place on the entire planet for its home. Sheer cliffs, where the ground drops off into nothingness. Here, every leap could be its last. Here, a hunt often ends not in victory, but in a fall from a cliff. And even the prey feels more confident here than the predator itself. We're talking about the snow leopard. Unlike all the other big cats on the planet, it had the choice to live down below, where it's warmer, safer, and there's less chance of slipping and falling to its death. But it chose the vertical world. So why did it voluntarily settle where the cold and sheer cliffs are against it? And why does it risk its own life every time it hunts, where its prey can just run away at any moment, and it could misstep and plummet at any second? And why has this deadly vertical world become not a curse for the leopard, but its only way to survive? The answer to these questions runs deeper than just hunger. The snow leopard is the only large predator on Earth that has made sheer cliffs its permanent home, not just a temporary shelter. Lions, tigers, leopards, and pumas choose plains, forests, and savannas. And even when they go up into the mountains, they don't make them their main hunting ground. Its home is the highest and harshest mountain ranges on the planet: the Himalayas, Tibet, the Altai, the Sian, and the Pamir Mountains. There's no soft ground here, only rock, ice, and thin air that's hard to breathe, even for a person at complete rest. It's often called the mountain leopard, and in terms of appearance, there really is a resemblance. But genetically, it's closer to the tiger, and neither the tiger nor the leopard, its two closest relatives, have ever climbed as high into the mountains as it has. So it's a mystery. An animal that could live down below, easier and safer, chose a territory for itself where the entire landscape works against it. To understand why, we first need to look at what exactly it hunts there. Its prey: mountain goats, ibex, rams, argali. Creatures born for a vertical world, in the most literal sense. A mountain goat kid gets on its feet, and within its first few days of life, starts scrambling up sheer rocks, long before it learns to walk confidently on flat ground. For it, the mountains aren't a danger, but the only world it knows. This raises the bar for the snow leopard to the absolute limit. It's not just hunting fast animals, but creatures that have been training on vertical terrain literally their entire lives, since birth. The prey can be standing on a ledge the width of a hand, and the leopard is forced to strike right from there, from that same thin strip of rock, with no room for a second step. A single miscalculation here costs not the prey, but the leopard itself. At the same time, the snow leopard deliberately chooses not the weakest ones. It hunts large males weighing up to 100 kilograms, which is twice its own weight. But even the perfect hunter has its limits. Yaks graze in these same mountains, and the snow leopard avoids them even more than it does wolves. An adult yak weighs almost a ton, and one blow from its horns can kill the leopard on the spot. It paints a strange picture. A creature willing to risk its life on a sheer cliff for a goat knows exactly when to just turn around and leave. So why is it that down below, where it's warmer and safer, the snow leopard doesn't stand a single chance? And why did that force it to ascend to a place of no return? Down below, in the valleys and forests, there are too many others looking to hunt. Wolves have their packs and numbers. Bears are bigger and more dangerous in a head-on fight. Lynxes are stealthier and more effective among the trees and bushes. On the sheer cliffs, the snow leopard has no rivals among the animals. None of the large predators are willing to fight for territory where the land itself is working against you. Here, where no one else wants to compete, it finally has a place where it's number one. Up high, to a place where no other beast climbs, someone else ascends. The bearded vulture, a large griffin, solves the problem of high-altitude survival in a completely different way than the snow leopard. The bearded vulture carries the bones of dead animals high into the air and drops them onto rocks to crack them open and get to the bone marrow inside. This way of getting food is so bizarre, it seems more like something made up than a part of nature. This altitude forces everyone who survives there to come up with almost insane ways to feed themselves. The snow leopard found its own way, hunting where no other animal would dare to compete with it. Competition from below? That's only half the answer. It explains why the snow leopard went up there. But up there, it also had to learn to hunt differently, to turn the very height into an ally, and not just a hiding place. The snow leopard turns the height into a weapon. It doesn't chase its prey in a run, it drops down on it from above, using the momentum of its own weight and the speed gained on the descent. A leap during a hunt can be as long as 14 or 15 meters. A jump like that gives it the main thing, the element of surprise, which the prey simply doesn't have time to react to. On the plains, the leopard has no such advantage. There, it's outpaced by lighter, more agile cats. But on the cliffs, the height turns it into the fastest predator around. A leap from a rocky ledge straight onto a goat's back. An attack on a narrow path where the prey simply has nowhere to turn and run. Every single one of these maneuvers is only possible because of the vertical terrain, which for other predators means certain death. The tactics explain why such a hunt is beneficial for the leopard. But they don't explain the main thing, how it takes the risk of falling to its death every single time it jumps from that height. The price for a mistake on the cliffs is one thing: death. A wolf chasing a goat up a sheer wall will fall and be killed. A leopard that makes a bad jump from up high will break a leg and starve to death, all alone. The snow leopard is the only one willing to pay this price over and over. In India, a case was recorded where a female snow leopard jumped onto a large ibex, and they both fell down the slope together. She lost her prey, but by some miracle, she survived. There are other stories of a snow leopard chasing its prey down a steep slope, losing its footing, and plummeting hundreds of feet. This isn't madness or desperation, it's a profession with the highest risk on Earth among all felines. Snow leopards need to hunt on average once every 8 to 10 days to recover their strength after a failure, or to digest a rare victory. And statistically, there are fewer successful attempts than failures, with only about 10% of attacks ending in success. This raises the question of how the body of a beast that takes such a risk time and time again and manages to survive most of the time is built. Imagine you had to create a machine for living at an altitude of 5,000 meters. Nature solved this problem long before any engineers did. Wide paws with thick fur between the toes act like snowshoes, distributing the animal's weight over the snow, and like shock absorbers when it lands after a jump. Sharp claws grip the rock where it seems there's nothing to hold on to. A long tail, almost equal to the length of its entire body, serves as a counterbalance, allowing it to change its trajectory right in midair during the jump itself. This same tail has a second, completely non-combative function. A sleeping snow leopard wraps it around its face to breathe warm air and shield itself from the frost. It is a small, everyday detail that suddenly makes this fierce predator seem almost like a house cat. Powerful hind legs allow for a jump of up to 6 meters in length and up to 3 meters in height. Its eyes judge the distance to a target with pinpoint accuracy. A mistake here costs way too much. Large nasal cavities warm the thin, icy mountain air before it enters the lungs. Short, rounded ears are pressed tightly against the head to avoid losing precious body heat. A thick coat of fur up to 5.5 centimeters long retains heat in even the most brutal frosts. After seeing this set of features, it is hard to call it just a lucky set of genes. It is more like a complete design for a single task: to survive right here. This survival machine did not just appear fully formed. It was forged in a race that has been going on for millions of years and continues to this day. The goats get better at climbing, the snow leopard gets better at hunting those who climb. Each new generation on both sides sets its own record for altitude and the steepness of the slope. An adult snow leopard can chase its prey in places where a person couldn't even manage to stand on 2 feet, let alone hunt. This isn't a learned trick or a habit, but an innate ability, honed by millions of years of natural selection. Scientists believe that the snow leopard's adaptations to the mountains formed relatively quickly in evolutionary terms, during the Quaternary period, starting in the Middle Pleistocene. This race is happening right now, this very minute, somewhere in the mountains. Every failed leap by a leopard and every victim that escapes is just one episode in an endless game that will never end with one side winning. This game is best seen not in statistics, but in one specific scene. The goat knows these cliffs like the back of its hoof. The leopard knows the goat's habits, and they both come out to play a game where the stakes are higher than any game of chess. The goat picks a route with no room to turn around, hoping this very thing will save it from an attack. The leopard comes from above and blocks the only escape path. The snow leopard has two different ways of hunting: stalking, a slow, almost invisible approach to its prey, and lying in wait in places where hoofed animals often gather. Before pouncing, it often twitches and taps its tail, like a pendulum. This isn't nerves, it's a targeting indicator, the final adjustment before the decisive move. It can lie in ambush for a very long time, just watching, and then suddenly get up and walk away in silence, without a single attempt to attack, if the moment doesn't feel right. But when the moment is right, there's silence, then tension, then the leap. And after that, there are only two outcomes. The prey gets away alive, or it doesn't get away at all. If a hunt fails, the leopard rarely bothers chasing its prey any further. At most, it might run a few dozen yards on momentum. Anything beyond that isn't hunting anymore, it's just a waste of energy. And it has too little of that to spare. In the Sayano-Shoshensky Nature Reserve, there's a story about a young female named Bazaginka. She was chasing an ibex, and it suddenly leaped into the icy water and simply swam away, even though that kind of behavior is not at all typical for mountain goats. Scientists figure that Bazaginka might have just been playing at that moment, not actually hunting for real. The story immediately adds a few unexpected layers: the prey's strange escape and a hint of playfulness from a predator that people are used to seeing as just a killing machine. The snow leopard can't roar. For a long time, scientists explained this was because of the special structure of its hyoid bone. But new research hasn't confirmed this theory. The leopard's bone is almost the same as that of other big cats that can roar. This means the real reason is hidden somewhere else in the structure of its larynx, and scientists themselves are still arguing about what exactly it is. Instead of a roar or a howl, it's only capable of purring, huffing, and hissing. It purrs not like most wild cats, which only do it on the exhale. It does it on the inhale and the exhale at the same time, just like a regular house cat on its owner's pillow. There's another detail that doesn't quite fit its big cat status. The leopard doesn't eat lying down, sprawled out, as is common for large predators, but squatting, a posture closer to the neighbor's cat than to a tiger, its direct blood relative. And the most surprising fact of all, in the entire history of observation, not a single snow leopard attack on a human in the wild has ever been recorded. It simply doesn't see us as either prey or a threat. There's also a real-life scene on this same topic. Even after the leopard takes down a mountain goat at the cost of deadly risk on a sheer cliff face, it doesn't get to eat in peace. Magpies land a couple of steps away and brazenly snatch pieces right from under its nose. It lazily swats them away with its paw. They fly off a few yards and come back almost immediately. In that moment, the greatest hunter of the mountains looks no more threatening than the neighbor's cat being teased by a flock of sparrows in the yard. While magpies steal its lunch, in these same mountains, man builds his own sheer walls, dams, and bridges out of concrete. Mountain goats go there for the salt that leaches right out of the stone. The snow leopard follows its prey to the same place. The hunt now happens not only on natural cliffs, but also on concrete walls as high as a 10-story building. Sometimes the hunt takes place just a couple hundred yards from a village, in a place where no one ever expected to see a leopard before. It doesn't care if it's concrete or rock, only one thing matters: whether there's prey there or not. For the people who have lived alongside this animal for centuries, it has long since ceased to be just a neighbor among the cliffs. In Kyrgyzstan, you can find its image on the coats of arms of cities and even entire nations, as a symbol of greatness and courage. In Khakassia, they believe the leopard guards the passage between the worlds of the living and the dead. For these peoples, it is not just a predator, but a part of their worldview. The word urbis itself, which is what they call it in some languages of the region, is older than the written records where scientists first described the animal. People were telling legends about it long before science even knew it existed. Even so, the animal remains incredibly elusive to scientists to this day. There are thousands of camera traps set up in the mountains, yet there are strangely few pictures of the snow leopard on them. Catching a wolf on camera in the same mountains is way easier. They live in packs and travel on open, predictable trails. The leopard, on the other hand, deliberately avoids open routes and almost always sticks to the shadows of the terrain. One researcher spent almost 10 years just to catch and fit satellite collars on only 24 wild leopards. The collar transmits coordinates every few hours and stays on the animal for about a year and a half, after which it automatically unfastens. It was this sparse data that led to a discovery that turned previous ideas about the animal upside down. The territories of individual adult males turned out to be many times larger than previously thought. A single animal can cross several mountain valleys in just a few weeks, ending up dozens of kilometers from where it was last seen. The more closely people study the snow leopard, the clearer it becomes that even our current knowledge about it is just the tip of the iceberg. But scientists have managed to figure out something in recent years, and this discovery turned out to be alarming. It doesn't concern the snow leopard's behavior, but its very blood. Genetic research has shown that snow leopards have the lowest genetic diversity among all the big cats on the planet. All modern individuals are too similar to one another. Scientists believe that about 8,000 years ago, the population went through a critical reduction, a so-called bottleneck. All of today's snow leopards are descendants of just a few animals that survived back then. This means they are less able to adapt to diseases, to heat, and to a scarcity of prey. In the Altai Mountains in Russia today, only about 40 to 50 individuals remain. Even if he is the king of the cliffs, his kingdom is melting before his very eyes. And this king can't just go downhill. Competitors are waiting for him down there. Rivals he fears just as much as we fear heights. To this threat from within his own blood is added a threat from the outside, from the air itself. The mountains, which have always been his fortress, are starting to change faster than he can. Because of the warming, the mountain goats are moving higher up into the zone of eternal snows, and the leopard has to follow. But higher up, there's less oxygen, less food, and it's much colder than where he used to hunt. The leopard is starting to hunt at night to avoid the daytime heat, something that simply didn't exist in these mountains before. And there in the darkness, he unexpectedly runs into other predators who have also shifted their hunting times. A habit that took many thousands of years to form is changing within the span of a single generation. For him today, the heat is more terrifying than the risk of falling off a cliff. Let's get back to where this whole conversation started, to the sheer cliff face, to the leap, to the possible slip and fall. Only now we have the answer to the question that was hanging in the air from the very beginning. The leopard doesn't climb up there because it's some daredevil, ready to take a risk for no reason. Down below, it's just middle of the pack, outdone by wolves, bears, and lynxes. It doesn't have a single chance of being number one down there. On the cliffs, it has no rivals among the animals. It's the only one up there. Every single rock belongs to it. This isn't a risk for the sake of risk. This is its very nature. The only way to be itself in a world where there's no place for it down below. If one day the cliffs disappear or the leopard stops hunting on them, it will stop being a snow leopard. As long as it exists, so do these sheer cliff faces, which still remember its every leap.